In the previous video, we reviewed the workflow approval processes for contract administration and procurement modules. We covered an overview and then showed how to create workflow rules using three different types: feature-based workflow with PM alias or admin approvers, and project or feature-based workflow. We strongly encourage you to review that previous video before moving to this more advanced subject. In this current video, we're going to review creating workflow rules using the feature-based workflow, and then talk about initiating workflow in a record or transaction, how that workflow approval works with the workflow tab on the home menu, and finally approving workflow records and transactions. To continue the illustration from the previous video, let's go back to the first method. And we'll click Save and Add. We'll select the alias PM Contact Project, and we'll add the approver as administrator, and we'll allow this to be parallel so that they both can be looking at the approval at the same time. We'll give both 2 days to approve after the creation of the transaction. Click Continue. Our workflow diagram has updated, and then we click Save. Now when we go back to the home menu, we'll notice that a tab has opened up called Workflow. Right now there's no transactions available because we just created the rules. But let's go out and add some transactions and see how this works. Let's go out, for example, to Projects, Procurement. We'll select a project. Let's go to Project Information. Open the project. And notice that the PM contact is Gordon Hill. Next, we'll go to Projects and Procurement. Next, let's initiate the workflow on a purchase order. We'll just come here to the list of purchase orders on this project. We'll just choose the first purchase order, which was for a lumber package for A&A building supply. And we'll go right below the detail grid for the PO items and click Initiate. A log is created. Now, when we go back to the PO list, we can see that the lock symbol is highlighted in yellow. When workflow is enabled, financial records will be color-coded. The yellow color code represents transactions pending approval. Green represents transactions approved, and red would represent transactions not approved. If we now go back to the home menu and click on the workflow approval process, we can see that the workflow was initiated. And at this moment, both David Holler and Gordon Hill are expected to approve this invoice. Since I'm the administrator, I can simply go to the Actions Approve button. And you'll notice that the workflow pending has now disappeared. Now let's log in as Gordon Hill and approve the invoice to see what happens. We go to the Workflow tab. Now we can see the PO. When we're viewing this data, as Gordon has moved to the top section, we'll simply go to Action and click Approve. Now we'll log back in as administrator. Click Sign In. When we go to the Workflow tab, we'll notice that both sections of the workflow are now blank because there's nothing left to approve. Let's go back to that purchase order. And we can see that the highlighted color is now green, meaning it's approved. Next, let's create a bill based on that purchase order. So we'll go back to Procurement, we'll go to Bills, we'll go to Actions, and we'll add a new bill from purchase order. And click Next. We'll put in a few quantities in the quantity column. Enter the invoice number and the date. And click Finish. Once we get back to the bill header, we can scroll down to just below that bill item detail and click Initiate. Again, a log is created. Now when we go back to the Home menu and go to the Workflow tab, we can see the next transactions waiting to be approved. Additional information on the subject we covered today can be found in the Help articles by going to Help, Settings, under the Workflow subheading, Contracts and Procurement. This Help article has additional details and additional articles on each of the subjects we covered.